Hi sewing friends. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown on the different kinds of sewing scissors, because when you first start sewing, there's paper scissors, sewing scissors, fabric scissors, snips, rotary cutters, there's all of that. And as someone who is just learning how to sew, which might be you, I just wanted to give you guys a very quick rundown on what you really do need and what you can kind of leave out for later. So the first pair of scissors that you will need to learn how to start sewing is basic pair of paper scissors. You'll need a pair of paper scissors. So what these are going to allow you to do is to cut out all of your sewing patterns, essentially, as all of your sewing patterns will come on paper, that being tissue paper, printer paper if you're printing them out from a digital, or they're going to be like sent to you and they're still going to be in like paper form, so you're going to have to cut them out. And just by having a dedicated pair of paper scissors that you can use for that is just so much easier. I like to identify mine by just having a piece of ribbon around it, so I just know that these are my paper scissors, as I tend to have more fabric scissors in my collection than I do paper scissors. So this is just an easy way for me to know, hey, these are my paper scissors and they're good to go. Also, by having a dedicated pair of paper scissors, is that whenever I'm cutting my paper sewing patterns and there's a bit of tape or pen marking on it, it goes onto these scissors and not my beautiful sewing scissors, my fabric scissors. That could then transfer to fabric. We don't want any of that. We want to keep it all on your paper scissors. So these can be like, your kitchen pair of scissors, probably like no more than $30. Just nice and easy, basic pair of scissors. So that's your first pair. Now, the second pair is your dedicated fabric scissors, right? So I've been using these, I think they're Clover fabric scissors for like 10 years. And I think I've only had to get them sharpened twice. So the reason I love these ones so much is, I'm not sure if it will show up on camera, but on this bottommost blade down here, it has like little teeth that grasp the fabric as you cut, right? So that means that the fabric's not like balancing on the blade as I cut. And you know how sometimes when you're cutting fabric, the fabric like slides out, and then as you cut, it's really difficult to like actually cut the fabric because it kept on sliding out. These, perfect for any beginner. I think like they were like $50, $60, but that was 10 years ago. So adjust for inflation, of course, as always. I know you can get left-handed scissors, but as I'm right-handed, all my scissors are right-handed as well. Clover has like a bunch more accessories as well for if you're beginning to sew. If you are getting into sewing, that is a good brand to like go with if you're a bit uncertain. So those are a good one. Now, I recently upgraded my sewing scissors and I treated myself to these LDH scissors, and oh my god, the weight difference in these two. These are so much more hefty, but they are gorgeous. They're from the LDH scissors midnight range. You can see that there. They are absolutely stunning. They're 12 inches, lucky girl. And they are so bloody good. Like, I'm not joking. I was a ride or die for Clover, but then these ones showed up and I was like, oh, hey there. Oh, hi. Like, honestly, phenomenal. I was so impressed by the quality. And even though they don't have the kind of like teeth on the bottom, holy God, they cut so well. And the pointed tip on them is so accurate. And the best thing about sewing scissors is when you close them and actually the top and the bottom blade overlap a little bit, so it actually cuts all the way to the end. Whereas I think with these ones, it didn't. And that kind of, so you're having to do more cutting. These, my God, and they just fit so well when I cut. And also the longer blade between those, see, look at the blade difference. And I think these are like an 8-inch, these are 12. So I was doing a lot less hand movements when I was doing this one versus this one. So start off with these if you're a beginner. You know, these did very well for me for 20 years nearly. Then I moved over to these. So, and if I hadn't got these, I would still be with this one. So it's fine. So paper, fabric, paper, fabric. Do not get them messed up. So moving on. Now, a few of you may have heard of pinking shears, right? And so pinking shears are basically, you can see on there how they have like zigzags on them. So I got these as a gift, and I think I've used them twice, and it wasn't even a project for myself. So, you know, unless you specifically want a pinking sheared look, they're kind of unnecessary. The use of pinking shears though is to, it's a decorative look, but it's also a way of making sure that the edges of your seam don't fray. Now, there are so many other ways to prevent your seam from fraying that don't involve pinking shears. And also it's another additional step that you have to take when you're cutting out something. Either you have to cut out with your fabric scissors first and then do this, or you have to use these to cut out everything. And it's quite inaccurate and unnecessary when there are other seam finishing frayed edges techniques that you can do. So 1 out of 5, don't need them. Now, the next one is your rotary cutters, right? So again, I've got Clover and I got LDH. So we'll run you through these now. Rotary cutters, if you're a beginner, don't need them, because this is purely for cutting out like larger amounts of fabrics. So rotary cutters are mostly popular in the quilting community side of sewing. So that's because they're cutting continuous straight lines and they need multiple layers of fabric to all be in straight lines. If you're just sewing the occasional drawstring bag or skirt or top or something like that, you don't need them. It's really unnecessary. But I got this as a gift as well. So this one has been with me for 20 years nearly. And I did use it for a bunch of fabric, but what you've got to take into consideration is you need a protective mat underneath anything that you're cutting, like this one, right? And if you don't, you can't use your rotary cutter, right? Because it's just gonna mess up anything that you have below. And if the blade is dull, right? This blade here, if it's dull in any way, anytime it goes over the fabric, it's either gonna miss a line or it's just not gonna cut all the way through, which in that case, you're gonna have to use your fabric scissors anyway. So my humble opinion, as a beginner, you don't need them. If you're getting more into light, delicate weight fabrics like a silk or a chiffon or something like that, where you actually have to be very accurate, yes, a rotary cutter, but for the amount of time that you're going to use it versus not use it, you don't really need it. What I've done, now that I've got 2, this one I use for cutting all my paper fabric, paper patterns. So like trimming off the edges or trimming it to a specific size, which is great. And then anytime I actually do need to cut some fabric with a rotary cutter, I use my LDH one. Again, gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, wouldn't change it for the world. So, rotary cutters, done. Now, the next step is your snips, right? So, snips look like this, right? And basically, the purpose of snips are just to snip into your notches of your pattern, or to snip off any loose threads. They're basically just a very easy handheld type of scissor, essentially, because you don't want to be going around your entire sewing project with this one. You know, that it's not going to be good, love. It's just not. And also these aren't as accurate at getting little things as these will be. You know, look at the size difference of those. No. we're going to put those ones down to one side. So snips, really good. I have several of them in all different types. So I have these LDH ones, and I also have clover ones, right? So the purpose of having multiple snips, pairs of snips, is that they're always in reach, because there's nothing I hate more than finishing a garment, putting it on, loving it, and then a couple wears later, I'm finding bits of loose thread, or, you know, when a neckline doesn't sit properly because I've not managed to get right into the end. Now, just with these two, right? These, you could see they could be basically like a small pair of scissors, and they are. They could also be embroidery scissors, also they are. But with these ones, I find you can see how pointy that tip is there. That is going to get really far in to what you need it to get. Compared to these ones, also this can go all the way open like that, right? Kind of reminds me of a baby bird. Anyway, really pointy, goes all the way back, right? Whereas with these ones, these LDH ones, they are a lot smaller, and the opening isn't as wide, but amazing for when I'm just going around a neckline, and I just need a little bit. I just need a little bit. All my control is in that, right? And it's perfect, absolutely perfect for what I need. So yeah, my rundown is paper scissors, get them. I've had this pair, again, 20 years. You can probably tell by the state that they're in. Never had a problem, easy, right? They're titanium coated, if that means anything to you. If it does, great. If it doesn't, no problem. Secondly, your fabric scissors. Get a good pair of fabric scissors if you're just starting it out, and then upgrade when you're ready to. Use exclusively for fabric. And also, it's also worthwhile noting that the little teeth on the bottom of this, really good for lightweight fabrics, and also heavy duty fabrics like a thick wool or a fleece, because it grabs all the fibers. Perfect. This is just my tried and true, easy, perfect, don't need to worry about it. They go through anything. I've actually done a test with these. I think they went through I think they went through like 14 layers of fabric. Incredible. Then rotary cutters, enough said. And then your snips. So do what you want with that information, but and pinking shears, again, no, don't need them. Do what you want with that information. I found the scissors that I've gone through over the past 20 years, each time I've gotten a new pair. And to be fair, I actually haven't needed any more than I have, right? Because they all just do the job. Once you invest in good sewing tools, you shouldn't be replacing them like once every 2-3 years. These ones will be with me for the rest of my life. I guarantee you of that. In 20 years, you'll still see me sewing with these. So happy days with those. Budget, do what works best for you, because what I'm willing to spend might not be what you're willing to spend. You can find quite a few few sewing tools like sewing scissors at charity shops and thrift shops and secondhand online. Perfect. Also, a great way to get them resharpened is go to your local hardware store or your local fabric store, because what they'll do is offer a service for like $10 to get them resharpened. And the only way you would ever need to get them resharpened is if you cut through like a pin, which I've done twice on these ones. So apart from that, minimal upkeep. I've seen sewists like take apart their scissors and oil them and everything. Never had to do that. And I use these every day. They are literally like an extension of my hands when I sew. And so yeah, if that gives you guys a bit of an insight into sewing scissors, great. It's what we're all about here. And yeah, and if you have any more questions, make sure you comment down below and I'll get straight to them as soon as possible. And if you enjoy this kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe, and I'll just keep on going, really, till we have over 1 million people watching this. So that's the goal. We're going to teach 1 million people how to sew through this. Yeah, it's just what we do. Love ya.